Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. There we go. Got it.
Okay, we are waiting for, let's see.
Did somebody else want to click in? Did I not see them?
Might have been me.
Oh.
It kicked me out and I got back in real quick.
Okay, there we go. Quorum.
All right then. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. Go ahead and call to order. If we could have a call of the roll from Mrs. Schmaltz.
Sure. Dr. Windsor,
Present.
Dr. Hess,
Here.
Mrs. Schmaltz is here, Mrs. Mendoza,
Here.
Ms. Garrison,
Here.
Mrs. Montano, and Mrs. McNeil.
Here.
So we're missing Ms. Montano. Is she
And
coming?
Tejan.
And Dr. Tejan is traveling.
It is Mrs. Montano's birthday, so she's with her family.
Oh, happy birthday.
Tejan is traveling. Okay,
Let the record show happy birthday.
Yes.
there you go.
Okay. First item on the agenda is a discussion and vote to approve the previous minutes. Those should have been circulated. I'm trying to pull those up.
I believe I put them somewhere.
There they are.
Should make you host for a minute. There you go. Actually, I'm gonna make you co-host so we don't have to keep fighting over it. There you go.
Okay. I can share those with everyone.
I would make a motion to accept the previous September 8th or September
20th?
9th,
20th.
September 20th minutes as presented.
Is that a motion, Brian?
Yeah.
I didn't hear. Oh, so moved. Do I have a second?
A second. Or Miss Ophelia.
Ms. McNeil has second. All those in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
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 All opposed? Excellent. All right, moving on to item number 3. We have a discussion and vote over the Child Internet Protection Act policy.
Did I send those out? Do you have those?
Yes, I see in the last email you sent, there was a document.
SIPSI or something like that.
SIPA?
SIPA.
SIPA, yes. So our E-rate and technology consultant said that we have to do this and post it one time in our board's life that we've gone over this, just said that we are aware of these laws, SIPA laws, Child Internet Protection Act, I think. Laws.
And how are we? Shall we discuss how we're?
Yeah, put those up, Aaron.
Yes, I can do that. So there's this document, looks like it has a collection of things we need to do. We need to establish a policy and have some sort of protection measure, and then have a meeting about it that discusses it. And that looks to be it. So we are on number 3.
And there's a form to fill out. Yeah.
Yeah, we feel that everything's been done. We just have to have the discussion here that we've done it.
Okay.
Okay, so what has been done?
What is the policy? How is it being?
The policies inside of our parent
Manual.
book.
Okay.
Oh, that's the wrong one. There you go. Oh, there you go.
I was seeing if I had the bylaw, the handbook up somewhere, but it wasn't up there.
Yeah, it's inside our handbook and inside of our employee handbook about those internet safety protocols.
Okay.
And then we had to fill out a form to put in our grants and in our E-rate stuff. And yep, in that case, scroll down. Scan as you go.
Right there.
Yeah, so it's posted. This is our manual that it's posted in. So what you're looking at is from our
Oh, this is the thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is what it's outlining that we're supposed to do something, but it doesn't say what we're doing.
Well, number 3 is what our consultant said we had to do is have this public notice and hearing that and hold at least one public hearing or meeting to address a proposed technology protection measure, internet safety policy.
Okay.
Okay.
It's already in our handbook. We
Okay.
just
Okay.
That was, I'm just saying that wasn't sent out. This was the only document that was sent to us. So I'll have to look back at my old stuff to look at. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we have, this is now included into the manual. So there is a safety policy that addresses all of these things, and there are protection measures as put in place. I mean, I can recall vaguely that we had these already from before, but so it is the case that this addresses the concern. And we had no call from the public regarding this policy.
Mm-mm.
In fact, we missed the call.
I didn't even put it on there because we had
Was
so
there
much
any?
today.
We do. Okay, but there was no.
Yeah, because
Okay.
her name is Dawn. She looked over our the policy we have in our parent handbook and the one we have in our employee handbook and said, okay, all you're missing is just to put it on an agenda and say and have it listed that you did that you recognize this as our public body. I said, all right, I can do that. Let's see, Joel Bryce. Joel, did you get him, Joel? Yeah. Okay.
I am on. Thank you.
Okay, then can you have a vote about this?
No, it's just a discussion.
It's just a discussion. Okay.
Discussion. So noted.
Okay, we had a discussion about the policy. It exists. That's good to know. And we can move on. So we need to have a discussion and vote for item 4. This is about the rebuttal presumption checklist. This was the document that we used to settle all of the contract discussions. It's kind of the record of what we did at the last meeting on top of the minutes that shows that we have done our due diligence as a board to take care of all of the items that are necessary to approve Brian's contract. The checklist, can you see that on my screen?
No, we have notice of public hearing.
Okay. Checklist
Here you go.
Yes.
is here and basically is an overview of all of the things that we did. And so this is an overview. It's got obviously Brian's name, his role, all of the discussions of the salary. We have some discussion of his previous years and of all the actions that we took. We double checked with our counsel to make sure this is exactly how it's supposed to go with Mac. And he thinks this is good. This is a record of our vote from that day. And then also a statement about where we got our third-party comp study. And so we and a discussion of the conflict of interest. So obviously there was Brian recused himself from the vote. Prepared this document. The final preparations were today, and we can vote on it also today if we're ready to go. But discussion is available if you see something that needs to be amended that does not reflect what we did.
I think it looks good. I'll make a motion to accept the rebuttal checklist. Presumption, rebuttable presumption checklist.
We have a motion on the floor to accept the rebuttable presumption checklist. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Ms. McNeil. All right, let's do a roll call vote because I'm not sure which one on this, so this should be safe.
Okay. Dr. Windsor.
Recuse.
Okay. Dr. Hess.
Yes.
I vote yes. Ms. Mendoza.
Can I vote on this since I recused myself before?
All you're doing is voting that this is the checklist and that you agree to that it's a reflection of what we did. So
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily, so even
No,
Brian
I'm just
voting-
asking if I can vote. I mean, I understand why he
it's up
did.
to
I
you.
just- Yeah, okay, then, yeah, yes.
Ms. Garrison.
Yes.
Mrs. McNeil.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
Okay, motion passes. Now on to close that document, trying to navigate like 8 documents here. We're now on to the financial report from Joel.
Are you where you can drive the ship, Joel? You want to?
I can drive the ship. If you want to let me share, I can do it.
Make you co-host as well. There's 3 of us now.
All right. So this financial presentation went out very late today. I apologize, board members. I wanted to make sure we had the most updated information, and I kind of overshot a little and got it out right before the meeting. Hopefully, Brian, did you see I sent a copy to you?
Yes, yeah, I
hour
put it
ago?
in I put it in the board minutes. Or in the-
Very good. So I'm going to go through this real quick. General information, we'll start on page 3. The current budget for fiscal year 2022 assumes enrollment equating to about 790 ADM. That is where I believe we are right now, about 789 ADM. I met with Jasmine this afternoon to go through what we have in our internal system as far as enrollment and what that would equate to on an ADM basis. And I think the budget is still completely sound. So we're in good shape there. However, number 2, due to some reconciliation errors with data between the school and the Department of Education, the school is yet to be paid on its fully funded enrollment this year. They had an issue on it with errors, probably on both sides of things, that caused a hiccup in payments. We'll get it all resolved, I think, within the next 30 days. And we, for the first time this year, paid on our accurate funded count without any issue by the end of the calendar year. Well, certainly it'll be squared away. We have sufficient cash reserve to make it through this. It's not an issue. It's just annoying to deal with these issues with ADE and payment being accurate. It's not unusual for the first month or 2 once they're paying on live counts for there to be some data glitches, but it's been quite a bit this year. So with that said, the current school budget is projected to achieve a debt service coverage of 1.37. That's gone up since the last meeting based on some new revenues we were made aware of today, actually. And I'll get to that in just a second. So strong coverage for the year, even though it's a growth year, we took on some additional expenses with liberal arts that kind of put us in a less profitable position than we normally would have been. It's still an excellent year for the school. Based on the current budget, we'll achieve a days cash on hand measure of 250 days in fiscal year 2022, which is extremely good for any school, let alone a school of this size. So good job there. And that cash number, though it represents a small decrease in days cash, it's actually an increase in overall cash because the days measure is relative to your expenses. Our expenses have gone up this year, each daily average, if you will. So we'll have more cash, but fewer days by just a small amount. And then today we received notification that we'll receive $127,625 in results-based funding in fiscal year 22. This is something that they do provide to schools that have had positive student performance and academic results. This is based on the 2019 year. It kind of froze every school in the state. So we're reaping the benefits of that. still. So that additional revenue was unbudgeted previously because we did not know if we would receive it. Now that we've been notified we will, and have actually received our first payment of that, we've updated the budget accordingly. That accounts for the increase in both days cash and coverage projections for the year. And then this other notes section I'm going to utilize just.
Hey, Joel, can I ask you a question about the 127?
You sure can.
Is it restricted in any way? Or is
It's
it-
to be used on, typically think of things that are in the classroom related to student growth, including teachers. So
Right.
you can use it in a variety of fashions, but it's function 1000 expenses, which is instruction, direct instruction expenses. And that can be regular education or special education, but it is not support. It's instruction. Most schools utilize that to just basically allocate against expenses that are already in the budget. However, if you have a new purchase planned for curriculum or for interventions or any number of those things, software related to the same, you can utilize that funding and direct it toward that as well. So this other notes section, I'm just using this to kind of track items for the board. There's no action required and nothing scary here. It's just information that I'll continue to update. So it's in this packet. You can refer to the most recent packet for the most updated information on this particular set of topics, which is twofold. Keeping you apprised of what we've received or will receive from ESSER 2 and 3. Those are large federal allocations of funds designed to help the school maintain its operation and offset its COVID mitigation strategy expense. Those funds are available for us to use from fiscal year 22, 23, and 24. The current budget grabs basically half of the total of ESSER 2 and 3 funds and is included in the current year budget. We needed that in order to support the growth with Paidea Liberal Arts, the expenses that we took on to do that put us kind of out of sorts in our budget. So just keep that in mind. It's nothing to fear. It's for that purpose, but we are using half of that allocation instead of a third of it, if you will, in this year. But with that said, the last item I want to make sure I'm keeping clear in your minds. We base the operating budgets on the prior year's funding parameters for state equalization and typically classroom site funds too. So though we're right at our budgeted enrollment for the year, the budget does not include revenues based on the current year funding formula. I use that to kind of keep contingency in the budget in case we slip on enrollment. We have fewer than anticipated students. There's generally not a need to make harsh changes because we short the revenues in the budget. So with that said, we shorted state equalization projection revenues. And we also are using $522 per pupil for CSF compared to the actual allocation of $733. This year is an enormously good year for classroom site funds because of a clean out payment from the prior year. We're not planning on those revenues, although we will receive them. That provides an additional amount of contingency in the budget. All told, because if our enrollment holds, that's about $375,000, maybe even as much as $400,000 in funding that is not in the budget that we will still receive. So that will help lighten the load on the ESSER funds I mentioned above, and we can reduce the need for ESSER by that amount and still maintain very good coverage for the year, freeing up those ESSER funds to be used in 2023 and 2024 if needed. So just FYI for you there. With that, jump into statement of financial position. This compares September 30th of 2021 to September 30th of 2020. You can see our cash position has grown about $500,000. Accounts payable and other current liabilities are largely the same. We've actually are a little bit more current with payments this year as compared to last year, but not a huge material difference. The biggest thing to note is the forgiveness of the Paycheck Protection Program Round 1 funding. Was on our books, if you will, as of September 30th of 2020. It's been forgiven. We took that as revenue in the previous fiscal year. So we're done with that. And significant increase in our net assets. So $1.3 million growth in what would otherwise be equity in a for-profit setting. It's net assets in the nonprofit setting. So excellent. Your balance sheet looks fantastic. I'll just point that out. Statement of activities, budget versus actual. This year, when we started the year, honestly, we were taking a stab at what we would need to do from a COVID standpoint. We know what our operating expenses normally would be, but really not knowing exactly where to settle and what we would need. I definitely increased contingency capacity in a number of areas. You can see that reflected here on expenses. All in with revenues, we're about $50,000 better than expected. The difference on the federal side is just timing of receipt of federal sources. That's not something to worry about. The overage on state equalization and classroom site funds that's included here. In October, we did not receive a payment of either of those two because of that data glitch. So we'll be back on the horse. And by the end of December, I think we'll all be squared away with budget year to date on the state side. And on the local side, a little less than anticipated. That's something that I'll continue to monitor, but it's not enough to throw us off our budgeted plan. On the expense side, significantly underexpended across pretty much every category, some a little less than others, but you'll note I didn't know what to project for benefits expense. I think we have lower participation in our group plan than I had anticipated, and we did not get into a situation where the increase in the employer expenses was nearly as high as I thought it might be for the year. So we're saving money there. I think that's a legitimate savings so far. I think a lot of that will hold for the year. On the supply side, same thing. Some of this might be timing, but some of it is just thinking we're going to need more capacity in the budget for supplies related to COVID, unique COVID expenses than we did. So we're in great shape from an expenditure standpoint, being about $350,000 short from where I thought we would be on expenses, and
I can fix that.
$50,000 extra revenue. What's that?
I can fix that.
Yeah, I know you can. We don't want that. But to point out that if we do have a need, Brian, like we were talking today, we've already saved. Some of this is legitimate savings. We're not going to expend the remainder of that capacity. I think we can find a way to maneuver, do the things that are urgent and necessary that weren't in the budget when we started the year.
Yeah.
So we're in good shape there. Moving into the statement of activities comparison. This is more of an FYI. At the same point last year, we received about $35,000 less in total revenues than we had as of September 30th. We spent $166,000 more. It may cause the question of how can the budget be on track if this is reverse of what you just saw in the report. A lot of it's timing. When we started the year last year, when we spent and how we spent was something that a little bit different than this year. We were more aggressive in spending up front this year than last year. But we're in great shape there. Cash flows, it's the bottom line. We've burned off $671,000 and some change in cash since we started the fiscal year. That's normal for Paideia. We typically burn cash for the first half of the year and get back into a cash build position for the next half, culminating with June when we received 2 state equalization payments in that month and really make our progress at that point. The school does not have a need necessarily to build additional cash at this time. From a sustainability standpoint, I think it's a good practice looking down the road over the next 3 to 5 years at the growth that we're wanting to have, having cash to kind of take to that party, if you will, expanding into whether it's new facilities or enhanced facilities, I think will be very helpful for Paideia's purposes. So we're in good shape. This negative will become a positive by the end of the year in a small way. Budget projection, I'll sum it up with this. We're on track from an enrollment standpoint. Based on the revenues and expenses, I feel the budget is sound. We'll finish the year with about $820,000 in net income. I could safely say that's probably at a minimum based on how I've shorted the revenues and how we're performing on expenses. That yields the debt service coverage of 1.37 against all indebtedness, maximum annual debt. And then it gives us 250 days cash on hand, I think also at a minimum by the end of the year. So excellent work to Brian and team in a fairly volatile start of the year with some unknowns. I think we've navigated that and have the enrollment information in hand now to feel comfortable with where we're at in the budget. Any questions from the group on that?
Well, I want to make a statement. And that, Joel, you're very gracious to give me and Victoria and Beth some credit, but holy smokes, I mean, the way since 2016, the way you have managed our budget planning and our financial procedures, I think is by and large, why we're where we are. So I just want to publicly thank you for how you manage this. It's just wonderful.
Thank you very much. That means more than you could possibly know. And it really is, Brian. You guys are fantastic to work with. It's always a great team effort to come together and figure out how to solve problems. I may point the problem out, but it's rarely my idea that solves it. So I really appreciate your guys' time and attention and effort constantly on this topic.
Any questions for Joel? All right, hearing none, I think we're good then. Joel, thank you so much again,
You
both for
bet.
this and for everything.
You're very welcome.
I put you towards the front, Joel, so if you need to scoot off and be with your family or anything else, the rest is going to be just boring.
I'll I'll take you up on that. I'll leave it to you, boss. Thanks. Good night, guys.
Good
Right.
night, Joel.
Joel's the only one that gets that.
All right.
Shucks. All right, on to our next item, item 6. We have a discussion and vote on our COVID-19 mitigation plan, community members on the campus with proof of vaccination, mask, and screening. I'd imagine that given all the updates with vaccination, that there's lots to discuss in that regard. So
Yeah, and I just put it on there not knowing exactly how, I mean, I've had several parents ask, hey, I'm wearing a mask. I'm vaccinated. I want to come and volunteer. I know that Mrs. McNeil has volunteered at lunch a few times. I've got a couple other dads who used to volunteer and they're asking. And so, and also, we've had such a beautiful community in that morning time of, coffee, and eventually I want to get back to morning assembly where we have maybe K through 2 and on Monday and Thursday, and 3 through 6 on Tuesday and Friday or something like that. I just want to start the discussion now because it might not be ready yet. Because I just totally thought that the infection rate would go down by now, but
yeah, the infection rate has held pretty steady for the last few weeks. It's been pretty stagnant or actually gone up a tick. I will say that I suppose one discussion that we probably should have, we don't necessarily have to have it now because it doesn't make a difference, but is the effect of vaccination status for children, since that is a new possibility, and what that means if we should be having a discussion. We could start that discussion now or save it for a future board meeting because they won't be possibly able to be fully vaccinated for another 4 weeks based upon just the vaccination schedules and such. So
we've had a few come in and little ones just come in and say, Dr. Windsor, my arm's sore because I got vaccinated. Said, all right, yay. We did send out a survey. I didn't get enough data back. So on the next board meeting, I'd like to report on the community survey. Basically, it was like in thirds. A third said yes, a third said no, and a third said, I don't know. We're unsure still.
and that tracks with the national data as well, that there's basically the country split into thirds with early adopters, wait and see, and no thank you. And so I don't know, do you want to entertain a larger discussion about what, I mean, are you considering lifting mask mandates at this point, or are we at a position
No,
to do that?
I don't think mask mandates, I don't think I want to lift that, but I would like to see if we can open the campus a little bit more. If you have for volunteers or, parents who would like to be there and can show they have a vaccination and mask and screening. Is there I'd love to hear from Victoria and Beth and, Melissa, Ophelia. What's your thoughts on that? I've had some people ask as well.
Yeah. I know we've had teachers asking as well about, and having to have parents who, are requesting to volunteer. I definitely think we would have to have a protocol in place, like to check for vaccination card, and we're still masking up at school, so that would have to still be in place. And I think, if it was a specific, reason or event, or, I still don't think we should just have people coming in throughout, I think if we knew, if there was an event or there's a reason or they're volunteering for something, and I think it's a good time to start the discussion about that. I know we have, I know we've had some teachers ask about this as well. So it's on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good to see parents involved again. Um, I'm fully vaccinated and I got my booster as well. And as a parent, I would like to know that the people that are going to the school volunteering are vaccinated and are wearing their mask. I mean, and we're not there that long. Like, you know, if I go for lunch, it's just for a couple hours and it's not even that long. And I'm outside anyway. So it's not that cumbersome to have to wear a mask, whether you're out in the playground or in the classroom. So I think that if we got a message out to people, if they want to volunteer, I think that kids need to see their parents engaged with their school and their teacher. I think there's a sense of pride. And I think parents want to do that. I feel isolated really because when I joined the board, it was right before COVID. And then I thought I was going to get really engaged with the school and volunteer and hopefully do some other things to connect with parents. And it's just really hasn't happened.
No.
And I think it feels isolating a little bit, you know. I think the staff at the front desk and the people that send out messages through Dojo try to do the best they can to, you know, communicate to parents of what's going on. But I think I don't know if Paideia is an exception, but it seems to me like there's we don't seem to have some of the issues that other schools have had with the combativeness with masks and vaccines. And maybe the community,
You're right.
yeah, the community is more compliant with the issues, you know, to make it better, more of a community for the school, for the kids to make it safe. So I would think it'd be great if we could come up with a solution or some type of criteria to allow parents to get back in.
Beth, did you want to add to that?
It would be nice to get back to some normalcy again. And so I think allowing parents to come in and help, but I do think I agree with Ophelia. They need to have the proof of the vaccine. They need to wear their mask. And we need to limit the amount of time maybe that they're on campus just to be safe. But yeah,
A number of people
maybe
on
the
campus
number
at
of
one
people.
time.
Yeah.
And have something written. I like the idea of a protocol
Yeah.
in place.
Would be a fair number of volunteers at any one time. Like 10? I honestly don't know.
You know, like when you're outside, you know that there's especially two dads that keep asking me. When they had volunteered when their kids were kindergartners, you know, and you see these two big old, you know, burly dads in there opening milk and stuff. Victoria, you guys probably know who I'm talking about. Xavier's dad and Roman. I can't think of his last name. You know, they ask me all the time, hey, when can we come back? When can we come back? And they're both vaccinated. And so I said, you know what, I'll shoot that out there and see what we think. But maybe a simple protocol says, hey, show up, you got proof of vaccination, you're screened first, vaccination proof, and you have your mask on the whole time, and it's outside. I think if we had a parent volunteer in the classroom, Victoria, what are you thinking there? Do you think that's possible to have somebody making copies or like the old?
I don't know on that one. I know that's what teachers are asking about.
Yeah.
As well. I mean, maybe if we had a number, like someone suggested, maybe it was Beth, that we have a certain number of people, you know, on campus at a given time. And if we've reached that number, then additional people just, you know, can't come in. So if they, you know, had it planned out in advance and it's within that number, I don't know.
It used to be one of the things that the parent lighthouse team did was actually send out and monitor and actually invite people to come in and kind of schedule that. And there was a schedule for it. Maybe going back to something like that, a little schedule. If you want to volunteer, we can take 5 volunteers at this time. And when it's all signed up, it's signed up for outside. And
I think there's a lot of things parents can do, even like helping put up bulletin boards and making copies and that sort of thing. It takes that off the teacher's plate. It doesn't involve them being in the classroom necessarily. So I think it's doable. It just might take some planning.
Yeah, I agree, Beth.
Maybe what the board does is vote to say yes with parameters. Maybe the board doesn't set the parameters, but the board says, hey, yes, and set
We
some.
want to see the protocol.
Yeah, see the protocol, set a protocol with this minimums that you proof, mass screening, and set a limit. And then I could, speak with like Isella in Italy and that team over there, come over here and talk with Sam and Edith and this team over here, and they could use their logic because they know more what's going on in the campus than we do.
Okay, so then our baseline protocol would be proof of vaccination, mask wearing, and other health guidelines as determined by the mitigation plan. That would also apply to teachers and students, right? That's the same sort of thing. And so there's that side of it. And then if the motion can be worded to, we address that, and that the particulars of who and when volunteer efforts would happen are up to, I don't know if that's executive leadership, or if you want to leave it as leave it up to the leader, just leave it up to leadership to determine, because I mean, this could be a rolling basis, just like we started this conversation with the numbers are not as low as we had hoped. Well, you all should be able to make the adjustment on the fly if suddenly there's Delta plus that comes out and we have to adjust accordingly. And so I know, Victoria, I saw your eyes there. So I would say that giving flexibility to the number, that you all can adjust the number at an ad hoc basis, seems to be a sensible thing, because then you can say the number is set to 0, even though the policy states that volunteers can come in. That gives you the policy, the guidelines as to what we provide, and then you all make the decision about the number on a rolling basis.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Ophelia, maybe you're a good person from the board to work with the executive team to kind of be that representative of the board also. That'd
Yeah.
be a good way to get involved.
Yeah, I thought about that. Okay. Is there
Okay.
something that the Lighthouse has already, like an established book or something that they put together from, I can draw from or something, I could ask you that later, I guess.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I think that's a good conversation to have with Victoria.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I would make a motion that the board permits volunteers. I can't make a motion.
Okay, I'm going to, okay,
Go
this is what I have written down and we'll see if we like it, okay?
Okay.
Move to amend the COVID-19 mitigation plan to include on-site community members on campus with a written protocol to include proof of vaccination, mask screening, and maximum volunteers on campus at one time.
Melissa.
Is that okay? Okay, I'll make the motion.
So moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
Who seconded?
That was Beth.
Me.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Windsor,
Yes.
Dr. Hess,
Yes.
I vote yes. Mrs. Mendonca,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
and Mrs. McNeil.
Yes.
Fantastic, motion passes.
Excellent. The last thing I'll mention that, of course, this would have to adhere to any larger guidelines, like from the county or state, should those be changed. So, but being aware of that if this somehow, we should just be.
Yeah, like if we ever going outbreak again. Yeah, that
Right.
Like everything. That's
Right. So that's something that there are overriding rules that would take the place of these in those scenarios. And so, but I think that just kind of, it goes without saying, but I think for public reasons, it's good to be attentive to those as we move forward.
Yeah, great.
Okay, we are now moving on to item 7, which is the election of corporate board officers, including chairperson, treasurer, secretary, and any additional officers. So the way that this has worked in the past is that A nomination, self or otherwise, can be put up for our annual voting process. And so the board has these positions. They're listed in the bylaws. Currently, right now, I occupy the chair position, and Melissa occupies the secretary position. And treasurer, was that Lucas?
It was Lucas.
So we actually are absent a position. And so that means that we need to find a replacement there, but now is the time to do it. So are there any self-nominate? Oh, sorry.
I have a nomination.
Okay.
I would nominate Ophelia McNeil to be the chairperson for this coming year.
What?
Shouldn't have showed up. I do. Here's why. Here's why. Because Mrs. McNeil has a great background. She has a professional background as well. She's a grandma. She perfectly represents, I think, a wider view of Paidea's scholars. She's been here thick and thin, like all of us have been. And I think she also has a desire to do more and to be involved more as well. And I like Ophelia a lot.
Well, thank you for that, those accolades. I didn't anticipate that.
Somebody else could nominate somebody else, though, also. You have to work with me.
So other nominations for other positions? I will say that I would not mind continuing to see Mrs. Schmaltz in the role of secretary if she's so able. She's been very good and diligent with our note-taking abilities and has been very helpful. And just like you were in the last moment, taking the motion down on the fly.
I would second that.
I agree.
I agree.
Thanks, I think.
You've done good work.
So does the chairperson set up the agenda and everything? What do I do? What's involved?
Aaron, you could answer that question.
The chairperson has responsibilities of running the meeting, obviously, but also being somewhat working with executive leadership on setting the agenda for the meetings. And so oftentimes I'll be exchanging emails with Brian to make sure that we have the sorts of agenda items that are necessary to complete whatever business is out there. The whole list of duties is in the bylaws if you want to look at that. But there's other sorts of responsibilities. The things that I've done in the background are things like meeting with council from time to time on some of the particular issues that we've had over this last year. And so, although that's not necessarily because of my role, that could have been done by a committee, but that's just the way it kind of mapped out. But the other responsibilities, all board members have other responsibilities that we probably could be paying more attention to, things like fundraising, things that we've all want to try to get to. And so those are things, but I'd say the primary things that you'll be responsible for is kind of being in more often coordination with executive leadership, Brian, to plan for whatever contingencies that are going on.
There's one major one too. There's the delegation of authority. So on the budget levels, sometimes if we go outside of a budget item that needs special approval, then you and I would have to sign off on that budget item.
Yeah, there's a matrix chart that shows like different levels of purchases that go, I think it's at the 25,000, I think is the first level, then 50, then 100 or something like that. And so on those
items, if it wasn't budgeted and then it's like, oh my gosh, we got to buy 800 computers, I had to have that sign off with
right. We had that, or the IT services we got upgraded, this or not upgraded, but changed phones. Yeah. So little things like that are pretty easy because they're operational. My role in that is to make sure that Brian isn't, buying a phone service from his brother who also sells phones on the side. And so
and then we have 3 bids and, so it's just that other person to make sure that the corporation steered the right. It's a safety for me too, I think, because you know, that delegation of authority to people protects me from any looks like, wait, what is he doing by himself, doing that kind of stuff? Yeah.
So what do you think?
I think we should nominate Dr. Teachin as treasurer.
I was thinking the same thing.
Oh, we have a second.
Oh,
Fantastic.
That looks like a second.
Do they have to accept or? I'm just wondering.
Voluntold.
Voluntold.
In the old days, Aaron, I don't know if you're on the board when we had Mitchell. What was Mitchell's last name?
Oh, yeah.
Mitchell
Davidson.
Davidson. Yeah, he was a forensic accountant or a forensic something, you know. So he met once a month with Vince, and just kind of was like the eyesight for the board, just to make sure everything was going well. So there wasn't just a monthly, here's a presentation. Mitchell kind of dug into it a little bit deeper once a month with our accountants. I think those are three good nominations right there.
Okay, then. Well, let's hold a vote.
Well, Ophelia, are you okay with it?
I mean, I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm not totally comfortable with it because I just didn't think about that at all. But I mean, I haven't put that hat on in a long time, but
well, it's 2021, so get it. It's a different hat now, Ophelia.
Yeah. But sure, I'll give it a shot. If Dr. Windsor thinks I can do that, then
I do.
Okay, I'll give it a shot, and I'll be more engaged, and I should have paid attention more what Aaron does. I was gonna say let Aaron do it one more year, and then I'll pay attention more. But
Well,
okay.
Aaron have a trip he's planning. So,
yeah, there's two things in the background that I think are worth mentioning that are inside of this. That I am trying to take a Fulbright to Norway next year, which means that I would be gone for an entire academic year. I won't have word about that for another 3 months or so, but that's a possibility where I might not be around, and so that I would probably pull myself completely off the board at that moment. And so it might be good to have someone in place that as a contingency plan. The other is that, and we're going to get to this in a little bit, but my wife is now employed at Paideia. And so there's a different sort of conflict of interest that needs to be addressed at some point. And so, I mean, she's employed part-time, so I don't think that the conflict is so grand that my brother is getting all the telephone dollars we talked about a second ago. But I think that that's also something that's worth pointing out at this point. And that was unexpected as of August. So that has changed a little bit in terms of what I think my role needs to be at this point. So making a move like this does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, y'all. All right.
And I have faith in you.
Oh, I do. Okay. All right. All right. I need to go take a shower. I'm sweating here. Congratulations.
Well, right now we have 3 candidates and with no opposition to their candidacies. So we could probably do a simple roll call vote across the board that we all agree that these are the 3 new candidates. And then that will start as of the next board meeting, unless there is anyone else that wants to throw another name up for nomination, or is that where we are at?
I think that's where we're at.
Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to vote on all 3 candidates.
Okay.
Move to vote
Okay,
for
Victoria.
all 3
and
for all 3 candidates.
all 3 candidates, since there is there's no opposition. So we would either wait for more opposition. We can vote on all 3, I suppose, but it's with no opposition.
Should we tell Ben that he's been nominated?
I thought you
Or-
voluntold him.
I'm not putting that in the minutes.
Fair enough. Well, we have a motion to vote on all 3. We can do it individually if you'd like. Let's just do that if that makes people. Oh, all three? Okay. So I have a motion. I do have a motion from Victoria. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from.
Okay, wait.
Miss-
I think if all three are listed in the motion, I think that'd be fine.
Oh, wait, shoot. I've got to write. Shoot. Where am I? Election. Okay. So, and who made the second?
Me,
Beth.
Oh, who made the motion? Oh, Miss Garrison.
Victoria.
You got me all flustered now.
Rethink the secretary.
Oh, he says rather not.
Okay. That's
Oh, you
fine.
did text him.
I said you gotta ask him.
Now,
Yeah.
okay, so we also, just because Beth and Victoria are sitting over there, they can also hold offices as well.
Rather not.
Oh, that leaves Miss Garrison. Congratulations.
Oh, is it really?
There's another board member.
Yeah, but there's another board member in there. What
Oh,
about,
there's
not here
Geronda.
what about Miss Geronda?
We can also table this till next board meeting, I suppose. This one.
Table the
Yeah, that's
treasurer.
voted
Yeah,
on
we-
tonight.
I mean, actually, well, I mean, I don't want to nominate myself because but I mean, what do they really do?
Oh, bylaws.
Well, I think, yeah, technically, the treasurer, yeah, look at the bylaws. Yeah.
And what did?
I am pulling them up. There's,
I'm adding you.
I mean, if it's going to be a lot more work, then no, thank you.
Have charge and custodian responsible for all funds and securities of the corporation, all financial books, records, accounts. Actually, it's almost like what I have in my drawer. I have all that. Receive and give receipts of money due and payable to the corporation from any source. Deposit all such monies into the account and perform all the duties as from time to time may be assigned to him or her by the board. Yeah, we don't have anybody like that.
yeah.
It's almost like what I also do,
So you're the treasurer?
pro se. Did I use that right?
Can you be the treasurer, Dr. Windsor?
I think I can be the treasurer. Because I mean, I have all that stuff anyway.
Yeah, actually, that actually makes sense. And even some of those things, the have charge and custody of the funds and security. No, that's basically what, yeah, that's you.
It's a fun job.
Okay.
Okay. So then, shall we amend the motion then to reflect that
Now,
Windsor is,
if I'm the treasurer, Victoria has to be executive director.
What, I don't, time out.
I'm just harassing you.
Okay.
Breathe.
Okay, I got this. We're good. I do it.
Okay.
I'm already doing it, so might as well.
So I have chairperson nomination for Mrs. McNeil, treasurer nomination for Dr. Windsor, and secretary nomination for Mrs. Schmaltz. So the motion is to accept the nominations or to vote the board members in. Does it?
we're moving, the motion is to call for the vote for all of them to
To elect them.
elect them, yeah.
To elect nominations for board officer positions. There we go. Okay. All righty. So roll call vote.
Sure.
Okie dokie. Dr. Windsor,
Yes.
Dr. Hess.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mrs. Mendoza,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
and Mrs. McNeil.
Yes.
Hey,
Motion passes.
motion passes.
And in the transition between all these things, Ophelia, by all means, you can contact me or Ben for that matter. Ben sat in this role for some time as well. And so there's whatever you need, by all means. All right, we are now moving on to the appointment of executive director. Is that what it sounds like? Is
that appointed by the board?
It is appointed by the board according to our bylaws.
It's
Section 7, page 5, the board shall appoint the executive director, who is the principal executive officer of the corporation and serves at the pleasure of the board.
I will nominate Dr. Windsor.
A second.
yeah. Is there any discussion on this
No, I'm
at
good.
this point? And Brian, this is with your dual appointment as principal and executive director. I know that's basically what has happened in the past, but how are we feeling about that?
How am I feeling about that?
Yeah.
About being the principal and the executive director at Trinity?
Yes.
I feel rejuvenated every morning.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm good with it.
Okay.
I did ask Joel this morning if he could find in the budget for an assistant. So we'll see what happens. I could use somebody to take care of this part of my brain that I'm missing some things that shouldn't be missed. So no, I'm good. I feel healthy and wonderful.
Okay. Do you accept your nomination then?
I accept the nomination with
All right.
gratitude in my heart.
Let's go ahead and vote.
Yes.
We had a second.
Hey.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I seconded electing Dr. Windsor as executive director. Dr. Windsor,
Yes.
Dr. Hess,
Yes.
I vote yes. Mrs. Mendoza,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
and Mrs. McNeil. Last but certainly not least.
Okay. Motion passes. On to item 9. It's a lot of items tonight. Do we have any nominations or introductions of potential board members?
We don't. There's somebody that Stephanie Pena. Aaron, remember Stephanie? I think
Yeah, that's from a while back. Yeah.
She would love to serve on the board. Right now, she has a Monday night class that she teaches.
Okay.
So
Maybe starting in the spring. She'll be done in just a few weeks.
right. So I think we'll just revisit that. It should be wonderful to be on our board. But
Yeah.
also, the rest of y'all, if you know somebody who would maybe who's treasure-ish, somebody who would be on our board, it would be nice to have us back up to 11. Because we're at 10, at least an even number. I mean, an odd number. The bond people like an odd number on a board instead of an even number. And we're at 10. No, we're at 8. We're at 8 right now.
So I didn't think we had 10.
Now we're at 8. So
Okay.
that'd be great.
I think this is also goes hand in hand with some of the discussion about volunteering things in the school. Like I think that disconnect that you spoke of earlier, Ophelia, I think that also it's hard to get people motivated when they don't even get to go on campus. So hopefully these things go hand in hand. So, okay, this is item 10. Create any committees necessary for the function and success of Paideia. Do we need?
It just
any
comes out of the bylaws to ask this question if we have any committees.
Do
Does
we
anyone
have,
see- Go ahead. Sorry.
if we are doing a, if there's someone who's going to look at, something outside the board to bring it together, like a curriculum piece, is that a committee?
In the statute, it said we had to have one of the board members review it and bring it to the board.
Okay, so it's not a committee necessarily. Okay. Okay.
You want to give a heads up? Well, no, that's not on the agenda, so we can't really
Yeah.
discuss it right now. You're right. Well, there could be a curriculum review committee. I mean, there could be on the board to review curriculum items as they come up. There could be a committee to review the finances. There could be a committee to review the law. I mean, Ben has usually been our go-to for legal matters. But at this point, I don't know if it's needed.
Okay. Then seeing no need for committees, we can move on to our final item, not the final item, but the corporate board training.
Hallelujah, here we go. Let's see if I can share my screen. And okay, are you seeing the PowerPoint?
Yes,
And are you still seeing it? Or are you seeing the PowerPoint and my notes?
we are seeing the PowerPoint.
Very good. All right, here we go. We're required to review this every year. So Arizona is, Paidea Academy is an Arizona charter school. I'm going to review the structure of us. I'm going to identify some of our legal obligations as directors, and just a quick overview of open meeting law. For our information, Arizona is a charter school. It's a public school, receive public funds. And we are under the jurisdiction, or under where our contract is with the Arizona State Board for Charter Schools, ASBCS. But there's district schools also, and they are underneath they have a contract, they have a charter, if you could say, with the Arizona School Board. The legal purpose of Paidea Academies is to provide a learning environment that will improve achievement, to provide choice for parents, and alternatives to public schools. That's why charter schools exist. Our mission, our moral statement is it's important. We're under obligation to make sure that everything we write out there is exactly this mission statement. So one of the things, Mrs. McNeil, I would suggest we do in the future soon is to review our mission statement, because it was written in 2014. And perhaps we can review that as a board again, just make sure that we go through a process to revive it and renew it if needed. What we say now is to empower whole person, body, mind, heart, and spirit through education. We've kind of just simplified it down to that. The structure of Paidea Academy is we have a charter sponsor with the Arizona State Board for Charter Schools. It is a contract. We had a 15-year contract. It's important to know. On February 29th, 2012, Beth Mendonça and I sat in Deanna's office and we signed the charter. We are in our 10-year review cycle right now in 2022. And in 2027, we will have to go back and apply then for a 20-year contract. The charter holder, you'll often hear like, who is the charter holder? The charter holder is the nonprofit. Paidea Academies, Inc. is the charter holder. The charter representative is me. I'm the one who signed the contract. And the structure is a corporate board. We have to understand what the difference is between a corporate board and a governing board. Our corporate board, us, we are both. We are the corporate board and we're the governing board. We could have chosen to have two separate ones. That just felt like way too much problems or too much to organize and maintain. You are the corporate board members. This is what is listed on the Arizona Corporation Commission's website. Keeping my responsibility is to keep this list exactly the same as the list on the Arizona Charter Board, our portal there. Sometimes that is a real challenge, because I have to make sure these are always balanced, and I don't always make it. LEA versus school site. The LEA, a local education administration, is Paidea Academies, Inc. LEA would be sort of like a school. It is a school district like Roosevelt. And then the school sites that we have right now is Paidea Academy, South Phoenix, that's the elementary school, and Paidea Liberal Arts Academy, that's the 7 through 12. We, on the site, whenever I pulled this up, it still had the virtual academy, But as you know, that has been discontinued. We do not have that charter or that school site anymore. One of the things, Ophelia, that we might look at in the future is to change the name of Paideia Academy of South Phoenix to better represent that it is an elementary campus. We have governance documents that each of you should have a hard copy of. We have the Articles of Incorporation that I attached to the email. No, I don't think I did. You don't really need that one, but the bylaws are really the most important. I attached to the meeting notice a conflict of interest policy, and this is every year we have to re-sign those. So if you could either just open them up as a PDF and sign and email back to me, or print and deliver to the baseline campus, that would be great. The other thing we have is the signature authority. That's a delegation of authority for budgeting and how much money we spent and how, and the organizational chart. This is that chart that Aaron was referring to, Mrs. McNeil, that on budgeted items, required for me to sign off on these things, and down on budget items, then this is where you would sign off on these items that are this much money or a term of 12 months or more. If they're budgeted of $100,000 or more, then it's required for all to sign, and it's required for a resolution. If it's outside of our annual budget that we put together and we already sign off on that annual budget, then we don't need to go through this process.
Yeah, just to clarify there, when we talked about the IT services, those were already budgeted. We lost our IT person and got someone new, or got a new service that was already a part of the budget. So that's how that worked in that moment.
Yeah. And then any unbudgeted items, it just comes up like that. If it's more than $25,000, we had to do a board resolution. Here's our organizational chart that we went through with Osborne and Maladon. We're under Arizona Charter Board, School Board for Charter Schools. There's the holder. You are the board of directors, the school governing board, same thing. We have the chair, treasurer, secretary, executive director. The executive director has stewardship over all the employees and agents in the operations of the school from day to day. Eventually, for our information, we will have what's called a senior advisor, but that will be in whenever we decide we're ready for a senior advisor named Brian. Something important is your fiduciary responsibility to act in good faith for our corporation, to use due care with the care of an ordinary prudent person, and be loyal to our mission and to our corporation. It's important to understand that you're board members of a nonprofit in a highly regulated industry. Don't want to scare you. There's 3 key ASBCS, Arizona School Board for Charter School, performance dashboards that we keep our eye on constantly: the financial dashboard, the operational dashboard, and the academic dashboard. Now, I also attached this PowerPoint as a PDF into the meeting notes, so you could print this off and have this as a study or a reference. This is our current financial dash. It says 2019. Sorry, I didn't change that from last year. This is our 2020 audited dashboard. Everything meets standards. We're in good standing. We meet the board's financial performance expectations in all financial obligations. This is our operational performance for 2020. In 2021, you see that 2 years in a row, I did not meet the standard. And here's why this time. In December of last year, I think I was putting Ophelia. Did you join in December, Mrs. McNeil?
Yeah, it was late in the year. I don't remember. Yeah.
So when I was putting you on, I uploaded you to the charter board's list, and the Arizona Corporation Commission list took forever to upload and approve. So when the charter board staff looked at it, it didn't match. And so that's why we got a pink.
Okay.
Or maybe it was Geronda.
It says Geronda.
Oh, Geronda. It was Geronda. Night. Okay. It was Geronda. It's her birthday, so we won't harass her too much. This is our financial, our academic dashboard from 2019. We did not meet, but we're a letter grade B, and we performed 50% above the surrounding schools in all academic content. But we had a targeted school improvement label from special ed, and that one little thing made it so we didn't meet. Some threats to your legal duties is conflict of interest, some inurement, like if you're, what does inurement mean, Aaron? You're smarter than me, you know language.
I think that's a financial term that if you somehow gain some sort of financial benefit from it, but you know who's smarter than both of us is Google. So
I was gonna say, look it up.
I understand.
benefit. It's just a benefit.
And you know, the excess benefit, that's a exercise we just went through, you know, to make sure that was a long process to make sure that we didn't.
So it says, when an insider of an exempt organization receives any of an organization's net income or inappropriately uses any of its assets for personal gain.
So don't do that. And failure to exercise sufficient oversight, especially in our financial operations. Now, open meeting law is very important. So I'm just going to zoom through this because you have the slides. And I know that Aaron and Melissa, Beth, and Victoria have gone through this many times. But just download that open meeting law handbook. Did I attach that? The open meeting law handbook?
I don't think so. Not to that email. I don't. But that is a very helpful document. I've used that during my tenure here. So that is a document. Make sure that Ophelia has that. Okay,
I'll make sure. Normally in pre-days, I made a binder for everybody with all this stuff in there. So I think I still have one down there with it in.
If you don't, let me know and I'll print it out.
Ophelia. I'm going to make you one. I'm going to make you a nice handbook. Or I'll have Beth do it. She's not doing anything. You okay, Beth? Okay, public transparency. Just read. I know it's being recorded. So it's scary. I have actually heard stories of some other charter schools that have just gotten in so much trouble because of this. And we do pretty good. We do very well. Okay, some basics. We cannot discuss school business we can only discuss school business in a meeting that's been properly noticed and it's on the agenda. So we can't email back and forth. That's a no-no. If we're in a friendly gathering of going somewhere and there's more than 4 of us, because there's 8 of us now. So if there's 5 somewhere going somewhere, really can't do that either. School gatherings has been kind of weird in the past when we were able to go to different festivals. If there's more than 4 of us there, we had to kind of make sure that we weren't hanging out with each other, unless we put a notice up that said, hey, we're all going to the fall festival and we're not going to conduct or talk about any corporate business. And the only time a meeting occurs is if there's a quorum and we engage in discussion or action or deliberation about a matter that has or will or can come before the board. The meeting does not require, obviously, physical presence. Agendas are very important too. So we have to list the specific matters to be discussed, but you know what, I pretty much take care of the agendas and what's specific. Oops. So on the agenda, we just have to contain enough information that would be reasonable that they would know what we're talking about. For example, we said our board's going to talk about an gender identity bathroom policy. We couldn't just say, well, consideration of student break policies, you know, because that doesn't really give the public information about really what we're going to be talking about, and they need to know what we're talking about. Now, nearly every board meeting, we do an executive director report or a corporate officer report. I can't remember what we call it. And that's where I'll review some of my stewardship items, Victoria on the curriculum, and Beth on the data and intervention and those kinds of things. And on those, we have to remember, and I have to remind myself that we really shouldn't discuss that. It's not like a discussion about anything. It's just really us presenting something to the board. So there's no really discussion allowed on that kind of stuff. If it looks like we're going to have a discussion, then we should just we should have been on the agenda. So posting the agenda, I've taken care of that. We are in a good rhythm. So I post in the foyer of both campuses. I post on the website through Simon at Creative WebWorks. I always post on Facebook as well. And in fact, last week, I think I posted it and forgot to change the date. So I had to post it again. There's what it looks like on our website. So if you went to public meeting notices, and there's all of our agendas posted since 2012. I have to give 24 hours notice of a meeting, and those 24 hours don't include Saturday or Sunday or any time the building is closed without any public access. Private meetings. And this is where, like, it's not a meeting if we're all at an event together, as long as we do a courtesy posting that says we're not going to do any meeting business. Actually, I got dinged on this one that I didn't post how they entered the meeting or attended the meeting, but somewhere in the agenda we wrote that they voted via Zoom or something, because we were all live and this other person was Zoom, so they dinged me on that. I had to fix it. So I think it's just best to always say how somebody's attending. The answer is no on proxy stuff. That's just common sense. Quorum is more than 5. The majority, so for us it would be 5. Remember this, that anytime I send an email out or a meeting notice, I try to BCC, but I think I messed up this time with something I sent out to everybody. Aaron's, I think it was your thing, that the presumption thing. I think I didn't BCC everybody, and that's how I should do it, so that if you reply, you're not replying to everybody. There's no chance of accidentally doing a reply all. You can email me if you want something on the agenda. You can just say, hey, put this on the agenda. You can't say why it should be on the agenda, because then that becomes a discussion between you and I. And we don't do this. It has never even come up where you ask somebody to discuss something. Like I would ask somebody to discuss something with, like, Olivia, go ask your mom about this situation. We don't do that. It's never occurred to me to do that. Or the principal to share a question from one board to the rest of the board. But I could say a blind copy to everybody to give me an idea. Okay, this is really important. We've actually almost done this a couple of times, and I had to kind of reel us back. We should never send text messages to each other during a board member. or to the principal, that kind of stuff, right? That kind of stuff shouldn't be done. Because they actually become public records. So if we were chatting in Zoom during a meeting, that becomes a public record. So here's one that was so embarrassing. I remember when this happened during a charter board meeting. Ashley and David and Kathy, and they were, anyway, they were texting back and forth with each other during the board meeting. And they got caught and had to publish all these notes about what they were saying during the board meeting, during the charter board meeting. So if you're going to email amongst us, whenever possible, just send it from school to the school staff. Send it to me, not send it to me like Aaron did today for that one item. You can send it to me and then I can get it out to everybody. If you use a blind copy, that would help to avoid any accident reply all, because that becomes a meeting. Okay, the public has the right to participate. They can attend, they can even videotape. I didn't realize that. Every year that surprises me that they can do that, and they can tape record our meetings, but they cannot speak at a meeting or just disrupt our meeting in any way. We don't have to have an open call. We can from time to time. We normally do, but when it's a night like this where it's going to go late, then I just decided that it's not a good idea this time. If we give our open, whenever we were in person, we had a piece of paper that gave them instructions about here's how you can address a board, and it says on there 2 minutes. And we've tried to keep on that. Now we've had a couple of parents come to the board meeting to discuss some things, but remember we can't discuss it or take legal actions on those items unless they're on the agenda, and they rarely have, they have never been. But we can respond to any criticism. We can ask the executive director or any staff to review the matter, or we could, the chairperson could say, hey, you know, let's put this on a future agenda. Okay, I think this, executive sessions. We did go through an executive session process. So the one thing here that I thought we should do is make sure we understand that what happens in an executive session has to stay confidential inside the executive session. However, there has to be notes kept, and they have to be kept in a confidential file away from the public notes of that meeting. So on those notes from the last executive session that you guys had, I don't have those notes yet. So we need to make sure I get something so I could put them in a file. And if you wanted to send them to Victoria and she could file them, so that because it was about me, that would be fine. Okay, read fast. You have this material. There's 8 reasons. Here's the normal 4: personal matters, legal advice, any contract settlements, and or student discipline matters. Student discipline matters, according to our handbook, is handled by the executive director and the corporate officers, Victoria, myself, and Beth. Pet personnel. You have this. Just want to make sure you know it's here. So this is a place that we've gotten, I've gotten dinged before on our notes, our minutes. 1 year, in fact, I have, just preparing you, in 2022, there's gonna be a little pink spot in the same place that it's been the last 2 years. And you know why? Because when we had our June meeting, remember we were over at the Desert Willow, what's that? The conference? Yeah. So when we were at the conference center, I put the address of the conference center and everything, but you know what I didn't put on the agenda? The Brittle Bush room. So I got compliance on that. So just a little stress. Never know. And then they call you, say, hey, you have to fix this, and you fix it, and they go ahead and put it on your dashboard that you're a knucklehead. So it's like, okay. So the board members who were present, and I've been dinged on this, so, and those who are absent. So we're doing a good job there. General description, how we voted is important. We don't always have to do roll call votes, but you know, I think we're doing a good job there of when we should do a roll call and just a voice vote. The interesting thing about minutes is if we're applying for any amendment or anything else, they'll look at the minutes, and if the minutes aren't right, that that destroys our amendment or anything we want to do in the future. This is the key on a roll call vote. And then here's what needs to be in the executive session minutes. So when you get those are on one of the slides. And they should be kept separately from the minutes of the public portion of the meeting. And I do have another file for that. So when you get those, I'll show you where that file is. Whoever wants to file them. And here's something I didn't realize. They don't have to be approved at a public meeting for them to be official, because I used to not upload them to the charter board until we had the next meeting, but I realized I can just sign them and upload them. And then the next meeting we can hold our meeting. Yay! Okay, so what's next on the agenda? That's right. That was fast. That was 30 minutes. That wasn't too bad.
That is the final item on the agenda, but I feel that if there are any questions that may have come up during that process.
Anybody have questions on that speed training, speed review?
Refresher of sorts.
Yeah, refresher, yeah.
I'll wait for the book.
I'll wait for the book.
And if you have questions about some of the little policies and procedures of things, I'd be happy to chat about those anytime. And so it's the book, like the open meeting law guide is really helpful, and have a look at that. I find that to be, I would go to that from time to time, as well as like any of the stuff about executive session, since we did that twice during the last year, which we had never done before. And that was also important, just to review those details. And so very helpful.
Are we able to vote for corporate board positions in the middle of the year? Like, for example, if we did find if we did have a new board member join, and that person was well suited for example, the treasurer position, can we vote them in the middle of the cycle, or do we have to wait until the next year?
Let me refer to the bylaws and have a look. I think we definitely can if someone steps away from that position.
Okay.
But I think I need to look to see when officers term of office. They serve until they are resigned. Resignation, they can resign at any time. They can be removed.
Okay.
By a 2/3 majority. Compensation. I don't think that there is a specific time period. So
Oh, it does. It says right. So look at section
Where's-
2, Aaron.
section 2. Immediate prior.
Prior to any regular, special, or annual meeting. We just have to properly notice it.
Okay, yeah, it just has to be noticed. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so good question.
So yeah, if we get someone that would be especially helpful in that treasurer position or whatever, then that would be something that we could do.
Okay.
Other comments, questions?
Yay, another board meeting down.
Okay, then. Hearing none, I believe that concludes our training. And now we are on our final item, item 12, which is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Is that Ophelia? Is that you?
Yes.
It's Garrison. Okay.
And Garrison as
I'll
a
second.
second. Thank you, Victoria. All
Uh,
right,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I would say all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Okay, Mrs. Garrison, we have an item that probably should come to a board meeting soon.
Yes.
And we should set the next date of a board meeting. And this item we could use,
Yes.
we could just do a single item board meeting.
Yeah, if it's possible, because our next board meeting is not until, our next scheduled one is not until, what, the second week of December? So this would be a special meeting for this one item. Can we do that?
We can.
Okay,
So I don't know if we want to set it right now, but I mean,
yes, if we can.
I would like that.
Are there any, it would be great if we could get this done sometime before the end of this month, so that, can I say what the item is, Dr. Windsor?
You can say what the item that is that you need to put on the agenda, but not why.
Okay, it's for approval of a curriculum item for a health and wellness, part of our health and wellness curriculum.
It's of a sensitive nature.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we just need a majority, so.
So if we have any availability within the next couple weeks, that would really be great. If we could get it done.
The school is closed on the 22nd, week of the 22nd, but I don't know what that means for you all. So that would mean either a week from today or the 29th. I don't know what that 22nd looks like.
We're here. The staff is here on the 22nd and 23rd. The students are not on campus. So if either a week from today or the 22nd works for anyone,
22nd would be better for me.
22nd.
Does that give you time, Victoria, to do those?
Yeah, everything is ready to be presented, so.
Did you reach out to Geronda? Is she able to counsel with you as well?
I haven't sent her the email yet, but I have it.
Okay, so should we say the 22nd then?
Yeah, that would work.
Item, okay, November 22nd, 5 o'clock. Single item, I will prepare I'll prepare the notice.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, thanks. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ophelia, for accepting that nomination.